At 2:34 a.m., Erica James received a phone call that would destroy everything she'd built. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, terrifying in its composure, like someone ordering coffee rather than threatening a life. "We know what you did at the Plaza Grand. We know you warned Biomsec. We know you've been feeding him information for 6 months. Every meeting, every whispered conversation, every warning that kept him one step ahead of death." Erica's hand trembled as she gripped the phone. She didn't ask who they were. She already knew. The same organization that had sent the 5 killers to the Plaza Grand 6 months ago. The same network that had funded Choi's betrayal, turning Biomsec's most trusted lieutenant into a weapon pointed at his heart. The same people who'd been trying to dismantle Biomsec's empire for 3 years, chipping away at his power base, corrupting his people, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And now they wanted her. "What do you want?" Her voice stayed steady despite her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. "A meeting. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. The address will be texted to you within the hour. Come alone, bring no weapons, tell no one, or we start killing everyone you've ever spoken to. Your sister in Atlanta, your cousin in Detroit, the barista who makes your morning coffee. Everyone." The specificity of the threat made her blood run cold. They'd been watching her, studying her, building a complete picture of her life while she'd thought herself invisible. The line went dead before she could respond. Erica sat in her small Bronx apartment, the one she'd kept despite Biomsec's repeated offers of penthouses and luxury condos, and stared at her hands in the dim light filtering through her curtains. These hands had cleaned blood from hotel floors, scrubbing until the marble gleamed and no trace of violence remained, had documented evidence that destroyed empires, photographs, recordings, testimony that she'd collected like a patient spider weaving a web, had saved a man who'd dismissed her as invisible, who'd walked past her 1,000 times without seeing her face. But now those same hands trembled, because for the first time since she'd started this dangerous game, she couldn't see the ending, couldn't predict the outcome, couldn't find the pattern that would tell her how to survive. The prophecies she'd given Biomsec, the warnings about attacks, betrayals, dangers lurking in shadows, those had been earned through observation, through listening with the careful attention of someone who'd spent 7 years being ignored, through being so thoroughly invisible that people spoke their sins freely around her, as if she were furniture rather than human. But this was different. This time, she was the target, the mark, the prey, and she had no warning to give herself. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too exposed. She stood and paced, her footsteps muffled by the worn carpet she'd never bothered to replace. The walls were bare except for a single photograph, Maya at her high school graduation, beaming with pride and possibility. Maya. Oh God, Maya. The thought of her daughter hit like a physical blow. If they knew about the barista, they definitely knew about Maya, her baby, her reason, her one pure thing in a life that had become increasingly complicated and morally gray. Erica moved to the window, careful to stay behind the curtain. The Bronx street below was quiet at this hour, just the occasional car passing and the distant wail of sirens, the city's endless soundtrack of trouble. Somewhere out there, people were hunting her, probably watching her right now, probably planning exactly how to leverage her into compliance. She thought about running, grabbing Maya and disappearing into America's vast interior, but they'd find her. People with this kind of reach always did. She thought about calling Biomsec, telling him everything, asking for his protection, but that would just accelerate whatever endgame they had planned, make things worse, not better. She thought about going to the police, then laughed bitterly at her own naivety. The police couldn't protect her from people who operated in shadows, who had the resources to track her every movement, who could make threats with such calm certainty. No, she was alone in this. just like she'd been alone when she made that first decision to warn Biomsec with the 5 killers, alone when she'd chosen to step out of invisibility and into danger. The consequences of that choice were arriving now. If you missed part 1 of this story, if you want to know how Erica saved Biomsec from 5 killers using nothing but knowledge and courage, go back and watch it now, because part 2 won't make sense without understanding what she sacrificed to get here. And if you're already hooked, subscribe to Love and Tension so you don't miss what happens next. The text arrived at 3 a.m., just as promised. An address in Brooklyn, Red Hook specifically, an abandoned warehouse district near the waterfront where shipping containers rusted and old industrial buildings decayed, the kind of place where screams got swallowed by the constant groan of ships and the rumble of truck traffic, the kind of place where bodies disappeared. Erica didn't sleep. Sleep was impossible now, with her mind racing through scenarios and possibilities, each one darker than the last. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table, the same table where she'd eaten countless solitary meals, where she'd studied photographs of Biomsec's enemies, where she'd planned her transformation from invisible to essential, and wrote letters, one to her sister in Atlanta, Rachel, who'd always been the stable one, the one who'd married young and built a normal life, the one who'd warned Erica that her obsession with power would end badly. Rachel, if you're reading this, I'm either dead or disappeared. I need you to know that everything I did because I was tired of being invisible, tired of being the fat black lady people looked through rather than at. I wanted to matter, to be seen, to be powerful. I found that power, and it's killing me. Please don't let Maya blame herself. Tell her I made my own choices. Tell her I loved her more than anything. Tell her to stay invisible, to stay safe, to never make the mistakes I made. I'm sorry for everything. Erica. One to her daughter, studying pre-med at Cornell, the daughter she'd sent away to college, far from the violence that had started consuming her life, the daughter who called every Sunday, full of stories about classes and friends and a life that was beautifully, wonderfully normal. Baby, I need you to understand something. Everything I've done in my life has been to give you better options than I had, to make sure you never felt invisible, never felt powerless, never felt like you mattered. You succeeded in that. You're brilliant and beautiful and seen. You matter. But I failed in other ways. I got involved with dangerous people, made dangerous choices, and now those choices are catching up with me. If something happens to me, I need you to promise me something. Don't try to find out why. Don't investigate. Don't seek revenge. Just live your life. Become the doctor you want to be. Help people. Be good. Be everything I couldn't be. I love you more than words can express. You were always my prophecy, my prediction of something better, something pure. Don't let my mistakes stain that. Mom. One to Biomsec, the hardest one to write, the one she rewrote 5 times, each version more honest and more painful than the last. Mr. Sec, by the time you read this, I'm either dead or worse. The people you've been fighting found me. They know about every warning I gave you, every piece of information, every prophecy I gave you. They want to use me against you. They think because I saved your life once, you'll do anything to save mine. They're right. I know you. 6 months of watching you, of feeding you information, of keeping you alive. I've learned how you think, how you operate, how you value loyalty above almost everything else. You'll come for me. You'll try to rescue the woman who rescued you. You'll walk into whatever trap they've set because you think you owe me, because that's who you are, a man who pays his debts. You don't owe me anything. I saved you because I chose to, because I was tired of being invisible, because I wanted power, and you were my way to get it. Every warning I gave you, every prophecy, every piece of information, it was transactional. I kept you alive because you kept me powerful, because you gave me something I'd never had, acknowledgement. Don't romanticize it. Don't turn it into something it wasn't. And don't come for me, because if you do, they'll kill us both, and everything I've built, the respect, the acknowledgement, the proof that invisible women can be dangerous, it all dies with me. Let me go. Forget the black obese lady who warned you about 5 killers. Forget Echo 7, the code name you gave me. Forget the prophecies that kept you alive. I'm already gone. Consider this my last warning. The greatest danger you face isn't the enemies you can see. It's the loyalty that blinds you to betrayal. Don't let your sense of honor become your weakness. Be ruthless. Be careful. Be alive. Erica James. She sealed the letter in an envelope, left it on her table where his people would find it when they inevitably came looking. She knew they would. Biam Siak never let assets disappear without investigation. Then she dressed in her housekeeping uniform, the armor of invisibility she'd worn for 7 years, the costume that let her move through spaces without being noticed. The polyester fabric felt different now, heavier, like a funeral shroud rather than camouflage. She looked at herself in the mirror, studied her face, the face that people had looked past for so long, round, dark, unremarkable to those who didn't bother to look closely. But she'd learned that unremarkable was a weapon, that being underestimated was an advantage, that invisibility was power. At least she'd thought it was power. Now she wasn't sure. At 4:30 a.m., Erica James walked out of her Bronx apartment and into the Brooklyn night. The subway was nearly empty at this hour, just a few shift workers heading home and early morning commuters heading out. She sat in a corner seat, watching the stations flash by, each one taking her closer to whatever waited in Red Hook. She thought about running, getting off at the next stop, disappearing into the city's endless maze of streets and lives, but they'd find her. And they'd hurt Maya to punish her for running. So she rode toward her fate, watching her reflection in the dark window, watching herself become a ghost. The warehouse loomed against the pre-dawn sky when she finally arrived. Rusted metal, broken windows, the smell of salt water and decay, mixing with the industrial stench of old oil and chemicals. Graffiti covered the lower walls, tags and murals left by artists who'd found canvas in abandonment. Erica checked her watch. 9:47 a.m. She'd killed time walking the neighborhood, learning the layout, identifying exits and hiding places. Old habits from her months of observation. Even now, facing almost certain doom, she couldn't help but gather information. At 4:10 a.m., Erica James walked out of her Bronx apartment and into the Brooklyn night. Inside, 3 people waited in a space that once had been a loading area. Now it was empty except for a few rusted cargo containers and scattered debris. Light filtered through the broken windows, creating dramatic angles of illumination that would have been beautiful if the circumstances weren't so terrible. A woman in an expensive suit stood at the center, Chinese, 50s. Her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, stretching her face into an expression of permanent severity. Behind her stood 2 men, bodyguards obviously, but something more. The way they held themselves suggested military training, specialized skills, the kind of men who killed efficiently and without remorse. Professional killers. Erica had seen enough of them in Biam Siak's world to recognize the type. "Miss James," the woman smiled. Cold, professional, the smile of a shark that had found prey. "Thank you for being punctual. I appreciate people who respect time. It shows discipline, character. I'm Wei Lin. I represent certain interests that have been inconvenienced by your relationship with Mr. Siak." "I don't have a relationship with him." Erica kept her voice flat, unemotional, giving away nothing. "Don't you?" Waylon gestured to a folding chair that had been set up in the middle of the space like an interrogation room. "Please, sit. We have much to discuss." Erica didn't move. "Say what you need to say." "Very well." Waylon's smile faded, replaced by something harder, more dangerous. "You've become a problem, Miss James. For 6 months you've been feeding Biamsak information that's disrupted our operations, deals we've spent years arranging, partnerships with Colombian cartels, shipping routes through Central America, money laundering operations through legitimate businesses, partnerships we've carefully cultivated through blood and treasure, vulnerabilities we've patiently exploited, buying his people, corrupting his lieutenants, positioning ourselves to take everything he's built. He pays well, Erica shrugged, trying to project a confidence she didn't feel. I'm sure he does. But money isn't why you help him, is it? You help him because he sees you now, because he transformed you from invisible to essential, because he gave you something you'd never had before: power, respect, acknowledgement. Waylon stepped closer, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. I understand that desire, Miss James, better than you might think. I was invisible once too, a secretary in a Shanghai office building. People spoke freely around me, discussed crimes, planned murders, shared confidential information about their business dealings. They assumed I was too stupid, too insignificant to understand, too powerless to matter. She paused, her eyes distant with memory. But I remembered everything, every name, every amount, every dirty secret, and I used that information to build an empire that makes Biamsok's operation look like a children's game. I have operations in 14 countries, assets worth billions, political connections that reach the highest levels of government, all because I was invisible once and learned to weaponize that invisibility. Then why do you need me? Erica asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Because you're the only variable we can't predict. We've studied Biamsok for 3 years. We know his patterns, his weaknesses, his reactions to pressure. We can anticipate his moves like a chess game we've played 1,000 times. But then you appeared, an anomaly, a wild card. Every plan we've made, every attack we've arranged, every strategy we've deployed, you've warned him. You've seen things you shouldn't see, known things you couldn't possibly know, and we need that to stop. So kill me. Erica forced herself to meet Waylon's eyes, to not look away, to maintain some dignity in this moment. I don't want to kill you, Miss James. Waylon's voice softened, became almost gentle, almost maternal, which somehow made it more terrifying. Killing you would be wasteful. You're talented, observant, dangerous. Those are qualities I value, qualities I can use. I want to hire you. The words hung in the dusty air like a physical presence. Erica's mind raced, trying to process this unexpected turn. Excuse me? Work for us. Use those same skills that kept Biamsok alive to help us destroy him, feed him false information, lead him into traps, make him trust you so completely that when we finally move against him, he'll never see it coming. You'll be our prophet, but the prophecies you deliver will be lies designed to guide him exactly where we want him. Why would I do that? But even as she asked, she felt dread building in her chest. Because Waylon pulled out a tablet from her jacket, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it to show Erica a photo. Her daughter, Maya, walking across Cornell's campus, backpack slung over one shoulder, smiling at something on her phone, sunlight catching her hair, looking young and alive and vulnerable. Erica's blood went cold, her knees weakened. She felt like she might vomit. Her name is Maya, yes? Waylon's voice stayed pleasant, conversational, like they were discussing the weather rather than threatening murder. 19 years old, biology major with a 3.8 GPA, dating a young man named Marcus Thompson, pre-law, quite ambitious, lives in dorm 347 of the West Campus Residence Hall, has a part-time job at the campus library shelving books on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, takes the same route to class every Tuesday at 9 a.m., across the Arts Quad, past the statue of Ezra Cornell, into Rockefeller Hall. With each detail, Waylon swiped to show another photo: Maya at the library, Maya with Marcus, Maya in her dorm window, Maya walking to class. A complete surveillance package documenting every aspect of her daughter's life. Don't. The word came out broken, desperate. All of Erica's carefully maintained composure shattered in an instant. I won't. Not if you cooperate. But Miss James, understand, your daughter's safety depends entirely on your choices, your obedience, your complete and total compliance with everything we ask. Work with us and she lives, she finishes college, she becomes a doctor, she has a beautiful, normal life. Refuse and... Wei Lin didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The photos said everything. They could reach Maya any time, could hurt her, kill her, make her disappear, and there wouldn't be a damn thing Erica could do to stop it. Erica's hands clenched into fists. All the power she'd accumulated over 6 months, all the respect she'd earned, all the transformation from invisible to essential, none of it mattered. None of it protected the one thing that actually mattered, because the people she loved were still vulnerable, still exposed, still hostages to her choices. "What do you want me to do?" she asked quietly, the words tasting like ashes in her mouth. "Continue your relationship with Biamsak exactly as before. Feed him information, provide warnings, be his prophet. But now the information comes from us. We'll tell you what to say, what warnings to give, what prophecies to deliver. You'll guide him exactly where we want him, like a shepherd leading a lamb to slaughter. He'll know, he's not stupid, he'll sense the deception. He won't know because he trusts you, because you saved his life, because you've been right too many times for him to doubt you now." Wei Lin smiled. "That's the beauty of trust, Miss James. It blinds people to betrayal. He'll believe your lies because he wants to believe them, because the alternative, that you've turned against him, is unthinkable." Erica thought about the letter she'd left in her apartment, about telling Biamsak not to come for her, about trying to cut him loose before this moment arrived. Too late now, far too late. "How long?" she asked, her voice hollow. 3 months, 90 days. We need time to position our pieces, to prepare the final trap, to consolidate our assets and eliminate his remaining allies. During that time, you'll maintain your cover perfectly. Continue working your various jobs, the hotel, the restaurant, the cleaning service. Continue being invisible to everyone except him. And when we're ready, when all the pieces are in place, you'll deliver one final prophecy, which is the one that kills him. Silence filled the warehouse, heavy, oppressive, final. Then Erica nodded slowly. "I need proof my daughter stays safe, daily proof. You'll receive daily photos, proof of life, time-stamped, current. The moment you deviate from our instructions, the moment you attempt to warn Biamsak, the moment we detect any hint of betrayal, the photos stop, and your daughter dies within the hour. Not quickly, not mercifully, but as an example. Do you understand?" "I understand." "Good." Wei Lin handed her a phone, black, unmarked. "This is how we'll communicate. Keep it with you always. Memorize the warnings we send. Deliver them naturally, the way you've been delivering them. Use your own words, your own style. Make them believable. And Miss James, don't try to be clever. Don't think you can outsmart us. We're watching. Always watching. We have people in Biamsak's organization. We have surveillance on his properties. We know his schedule better than he does. Any betrayal, and Maya pays the price. I won't betray you." The lie felt heavy on her tongue. "I know you won't, because unlike Biamsak, you understand what's really valuable. He'd die for his empire, for his honor, for abstract concepts like loyalty and respect. You die for your daughter. That's the difference between men like him and women like us. We understand that power means nothing without someone to protect, that all the respect in the world doesn't matter if the people we love are dead. Erica took the phone, felt its weight in her hand, the weight of her daughter's life, the weight of betrayal, the weight of choices that couldn't be unmade. "Is that all?" she asked. "One more thing." Wei Lin's voice hardened, losing all pretense of gentleness. "Don't think you can outsmart us. Don't think your skills of observation or your ability to see patterns will save you. We've been doing this longer than you've been alive. We've turned dozens of assets just like you, and we always win. Always. The bodies of people who thought they were clever are scattered across 3 continents. Don't join them." Erica left without responding. What was there to say? Outside, the morning sun felt wrong. Too bright, too cheerful for what she'd just agreed to, too normal for the nightmare her life had become. She walked 14 blocks before she finally allowed herself to cry. Not for herself. She'd made her choices, knew the risks, accepted the consequences. For Byom-sak, because she was about to destroy the only person who'd ever truly seen her, who'd made her visible, who'd given her power and respect and acknowledgement. And there wasn't a damn thing she could do about it. Or was there? As Erica walked through Brooklyn's streets, something began forming in her mind. Not a plan, exactly, more like the seed of an idea, the beginning of a pattern she might be able to exploit. Because Wei Lin had made a mistake. She'd threatened Maya, used her as leverage, made Erica's daughter the fulcrum of this entire operation. But in doing so, she'd revealed her own strategy, her own playbook, her own way of thinking. And if there was one thing Erica James understood, it was how to watch, how to listen, how to learn. She had 3 months. 3 months to study Wei Lin's organization while pretending to serve it. 3 months to find weaknesses while appearing compliant. 3 months to figure out how to save both Maya and Byom-sak. It seemed impossible. Probably was impossible. But Erica had done impossible things before. She'd saved a Mafia boss from 5 killers using nothing but a warning. She'd built power from invisibility. She'd transformed herself from someone people looked through to someone they feared. Maybe, just maybe, she could do one more impossible thing. As she descended into the subway station, heading back to the Bronx, Erica made herself a promise. She would play Wei Lin's game, follow her instructions, betray Byom-sak exactly as ordered. But she would also watch, learn, prepare, and when the moment came, if the moment came, she would find a way to turn the tables, or die trying, because some things were worth dying for, and dignity was one of them. 2 days later, Byom-sak's people found her letter. Jin Park, Byom-sak's head of security, discovered it during a routine welfare check. When Erica hadn't responded to 3 calls and 2 text messages, unusual for someone who'd been reliably responsive for 6 months, Jin had gone to her apartment. The door was locked, but not bolted, a subtle tell that Erica had left voluntarily rather than been taken by force. Inside, everything was neat, orderly, exactly as Erica always kept it, except for the envelope on the kitchen table. Jin called Byom-sak immediately. He arrived at midnight, flanked by 6 bodyguards, gun drawn and expecting an ambush. The kind of man who'd survived 2 decades in organized crime by assuming the worst about every situation. The apartment was empty, but the letter sat on the kitchen table like an accusation. Byom-sak ordered his people to secure the perimeter, to check for surveillance, to sweep for bugs. When they gave the all-clear, he approached the table alone. He stared at the envelope for a long moment, his name written in Erica's careful handwriting, neat, precise, the handwriting of someone who'd spent years filling out forms and reports, the handwriting of someone invisible. He opened it, read it once, twice, a 3rd time, his face growing darker with each pass. "Don't come for me. Let me go. I'm already gone. The words hit him harder than he expected, harder than he wanted to admit. For 6 months, Erica James had been his secret weapon, his prophet, his invisible advantage over every enemy who thought they could destroy him. She'd warned him about the 5 killers at the Plaza Grande, about Choi's betrayal, about the weapons shipment that was actually a trap, about the real estate deal that was actually a front for federal investigation. She'd kept him alive when everyone else wanted him dead, and now she was telling him to let her die. "Fuck that," Biamsak said quietly. He pulled out his phone, called his best tracker, a man who'd found people in Siberia, in the Amazon, in the depths of the urban jungle, called his most skilled investigator, a woman who could piece together digital footprints from fragments of data, called his entire network of informants, street-level operatives, and corrupt officials. "Find her," he ordered. "I don't care what it costs. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care who you have to bribe or threaten or kill. Find Erica James. Bring her back alive." They searched for 3 weeks, found nothing. Erica had disappeared more completely than she'd ever disappeared before. No paper trail, no digital footprint, no witnesses, no credit card transactions, no phone pings, no surveillance footage. Gone. Like she'd never existed at all. Biamsak should have listened to her letter, should have let her go, should have accepted that some people couldn't be saved, that some debts couldn't be repaid, that some loyalties had natural endings. But he couldn't. Because she'd saved him when no one else would, because she'd seen him when everyone else looked away, because she was the only person in his entire organization who told him the truth without fear or calculation, who warned him of dangers even when those warnings put her at risk. He needed her back. Not just for the information she provided, not just for the warnings that kept him alive. He needed her back because she mattered. Because she'd earned that consideration, because in a world where loyalty was bought and sold like any other commodity, she'd given hers freely. And that need, that desperate, consuming need to repay the debt he owed, was exactly what Wei Lin had counted on. On day 23 of her disappearance, Erica reappeared. She walked into Biamsak's office at 10 a.m., wearing her housekeeping uniform, carrying a clipboard like she'd been there yesterday rather than missing for 3 weeks. Same invisible presence, same careful attention to detail, like nothing had changed. Biamsak stood from his desk so fast his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. "Where have you been?" "Hiding." Her voice was flat, emotionless. Different from before. From who? From everyone. She finally looked at him, and he saw something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Fear, deep and bone level, the kind that changed a person. "I'm sorry about the letter, about disappearing. I panicked." "What happened?" He studied her carefully, looking for signs of coercion, of torture, of the truth beneath her words. "Nothing happened. She paused, seemed to gather herself. "I realized how dangerous this was, being close to you, working for you, knowing the things I know. I got scared, really scared, so I ran." "Where did you go?" "It doesn't matter. Nowhere you would have found me. I used fake names, stayed in cash-only places, avoided cameras. I know how to be invisible, remember? Why come back? Because running doesn't work. Because I can't live my whole life in hiding. Because," she paused, "because I owe you. You gave me power, respect, a purpose. I can't just throw that away because I'm afraid." Biamsak wanted to believe her, wanted to accept the simple explanation, wanted everything to go back to how it was before. But something felt off. The way she held herself, too still, too controlled, the way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes for more than a second, the way her hands stayed perfectly motionless when before they'd always trembled slightly with nervous energy. She'd changed. Not in obvious ways, but in the subtle tells that someone who'd spent 6 months studying her could recognize. "I have work for you," he said carefully, watching for her reaction. "A meeting next week. Important people. Dangerous people. I need you there." "Where?" "A restaurant in Manhattan, Midtown. The owner is connected to the Sinaloa cartel. Ricardo Flores. You know the name." "Yes." Every underworld player knew Ricardo Flores. The man had a reputation for brutal efficiency. "I'm trying to negotiate shipping routes through their territory, moving product from Colombia through Mexico into the United States. It's delicate. One wrong word and the whole deal falls apart, or worse, and I end up dead. You want me to listen. I want you to tell me if he's lying, if the deal is legitimate, or if it's a trap. I trust your instincts, Erica. You see things other people miss." She nodded. "I can do that." "Good." He paused. "Are you sure you're okay? You seem different." "I'm fine, just tired. Being on the run is exhausting. If you need anything, I need to work. That's what keeps me centered, what keeps me focused. Can I go?" He wanted to say no, wanted to keep her there and interrogate her until she told him the truth, but pushing too hard might drive her away again. "Yes, I'll have Jin send you the details about the meeting." She left without another word, her footsteps silent on his office carpet. Sok sat alone in his office for a long time after she left, staring at the door she'd walked through. Then he pulled out his phone, called his head of security. "Jin, I need surveillance on Erica James. Full coverage. I want to know everywhere she goes, everyone she talks to, everything she does. Use your best people, people she won't recognize." "You think she's compromised?" Jin's voice was cautious. "I think something happened while she was gone, and I need to know what." "Understood. I'll have someone on her within the hour." The surveillance lasted 2 weeks. Erica went to work, legitimate jobs at various hotels and restaurants across Manhattan, the Park Plaza, the Carlyle, a catering company in Queens, all places she'd worked before her disappearance. She went home to her Bronx apartment, slept, ate simple meals, watched television, repeated the pattern day after day. No suspicious meetings, no unusual contacts, no phone calls to unknown numbers. Nothing that suggested she'd been turned or compromised or threatened. But the photos arrived on her phone daily, photos she deleted immediately but not before staring at them for long minutes. Pictures of Maya, at class, at work, walking across campus, eating lunch with friends, studying in the library. Proof of life, proof of control, proof that Wei Lin kept her promises. Each photo was time-stamped, current, showing Maya alive and well and completely unaware that her life hung in the balance of her mother's choices. Erica stared at those photos and felt her soul dying piece by piece because she knew what was coming, knew what Wei Lin would make her do, knew that every day brought her closer to the moment when she'd have to destroy Sok, the man who'd made her visible, the man who'd given her power, the man who trusted her completely. And there wasn't a thing she could do to stop it. Or was there? At night, when she couldn't sleep, Erica began making plans. Not complete plans, not strategies that would solve everything, just small observations, tiny advantages she might be able to exploit. She noticed that the photos always came from the same number. That number always pinged off the same 3 cell towers in Brooklyn. Those towers triangulated to a specific area, industrial, abandoned, Red Hook, the same area where Wei Lin had met her, which meant something important. They weren't keeping Maya on Cornell's campus. They'd already taken her, grabbed her at some point before approaching Erica. The photos were staged to look current, but Maya was already a prisoner. This changed everything, because if Maya was already captured, then Erica had nothing left to lose by fighting back. The threat was already realized. The nightmare was already happening, but she couldn't act yet, couldn't tip her hand, had to wait for the right moment, had to be patient. So she played her role, delivered the warnings Wei Lin sent her, watched Sok trust her completely, watched his empire slowly crumble under her false prophecies, and hated herself more with each passing day. The restaurant meeting happened on schedule, exactly 1 week after Erica's return. Le Bernardin, an upscale French seafood restaurant in Midtown Manhattan, the kind of place where a single meal cost more than most people's monthly rent, where power brokers made deals over $30 appetizers and $100 bottles of wine. Biamsak arrived early, as was his habit, chose a table in the back corner with clear sight lines to both entrances, positioned his bodyguards at strategic locations throughout the restaurant, some posing as diners, others as staff, all armed and ready. Erica was already there, of course. She'd arrived 2 hours early, wearing a server's uniform, blending into the background, invisible, as always. She watched Ricardo Flores arrive at exactly 7 p.m., tall, handsome in that dangerous way that certain men achieved, expensive suit that couldn't quite hide the muscular frame beneath, flanked by 2 bodyguards who moved with military precision, a stone-cold killer dressed as a businessman. He and Biamsak shook hands, exchanged pleasantries in that careful way that men do when they're simultaneously negotiating and threatening, sat down, ordered drinks. Erica moved through the restaurant, refilling water glasses, clearing plates from nearby tables, listening to every word. They discussed territories, the Colombian cocaine routes that Ricardo controlled through Sinaloa connections, the shipping lanes through the Pacific, the distribution networks in Los Angeles and Houston and Phoenix. Biamsak wanted access, wanted to move his product, heroin from Southeast Asia, methamphetamine from North Korean labs, through Ricardo's established channels. Ricardo wanted a percentage, 30 points on everything that moved through his territory. They haggled, negotiated, pushed and pulled like old friends arguing over a bar tab. Finally, after an hour of careful discussion, they reached terms. 25% to Ricardo, transport guarantees, territory protections, a partnership that could be worth tens of millions over the next year. At the end of the meal, Ricardo leaned back in his chair, swirling the last of his wine. "So we have a deal?" "We do," Biamsak agreed, extending his hand. They shook, sealed an agreement that would reshape the drug trade on the West Coast. Erica watched it all, listened carefully, noted body language and tone and all the subtle tells that revealed truth or deception, and saw absolutely nothing suspicious. Ricardo was being honest. The deal was legitimate. He genuinely wanted this partnership to work. Later, in Biamsak's car, a black Mercedes with bulletproof windows and reinforced doors, Erica delivered her report, the report Wei Lin had instructed her to give, the lie she'd been practicing for 3 days. "He was lying," she said, keeping her voice steady despite her heart hammering, "about the shipping routes. He's already promised them to the Yakuza. This whole deal is a setup. He's planning to let you move product through his territory, then intercept it halfway and blame you for the loss. It'll give him justification to move against your operation, to take what you've built." Biamsak absorbed that information in silence, staring out the window at Manhattan's glittering nightscape. "You're absolutely sure?" "I heard him on the phone before you arrived. He was in the restaurant's private lounge, speaking Spanish. Thought no one was listening. Thought the cleaning lady wouldn't understand." This was the crucial lie, the invented detail that made everything believable. "But you understood." "I understand enough. My ex-husband was Dominican, taught me conversational Spanish before he left. Ricardo was talking to someone named Takeshi, discussing percentages, discussing how to make your product disappear without leaving evidence, discussing your weaknesses." Another lie. She'd never had an ex-husband, never learned Spanish beyond basic phrases, but Wei Lin had coached her on these details, had built a complete backstory that would withstand scrutiny. Biamsak nodded slowly, his jaw tight with barely controlled anger. "That information just saved me millions, possibly my life. Thank you, Erica." The gratitude in his voice was like a knife to her heart. "Just doing my job, sir. You do it well." She said nothing, because what could she say? That she'd just destroyed a legitimate business opportunity? That she'd fed him lies designed to isolate him? That she was the weapon being used against him? The words wouldn't come. Over the next 2 months, she delivered 17 more warnings, each one carefully crafted by Wei Lin's team, each one designed to accomplish a specific goal in their larger strategy. 12 were completely false, lies designed to make Biamsak paranoid and isolated. She told him his accountant was skimming money. Not true. The man was loyal, but Byamsok fired him anyway, disrupting his financial operations for weeks. She told him about a planned raid by federal agents. Not happening, but Byamsok moved his operations, abandoned a warehouse full of inventory, lost $2 million in product. She told him his supplier in Thailand was working with competitors. Pure fiction, but Byamsok severed that relationship, cutting off his primary heroin source. She told him about betrayals that didn't exist, threats that weren't real, dangers that were manufactured. And he believed every single one, because she'd saved him before, because she'd been right so many times, because trust, once established, was hard to break. 5 warnings were real, small threats that Wei Lin allowed her to warn him about to maintain credibility. A robbery attempt at one of his gambling houses. Real. She warned him. He stopped it. A police investigation into one of his front companies. Real. She warned him. He shut it down before charges were filed. A minor betrayal by a low-level dealer. Real. She warned him. He handled it. These successes reinforced his trust, made the lies more believable, blinded him to the larger pattern. Erica watched his empire slowly crumble, watched him cut ties with Ricardo Flores, severing a partnership that would have been worth millions, watched him eliminate 3 other alliances based on her false warnings, watched him pull back from deals that would have expanded his reach and secured his position, all because he trusted her completely, all because she was destroying him piece by piece. And every night she received the photos of Maya, proof that her daughter was still alive, still unharmed, still the price of her cooperation. Wei Lin watched from the shadows, pleased with the results. "She's perfect," Wei Lin said to her inner circle during one of their strategy meetings. "Better than we hoped. Byamsok trusts her completely. He's making exactly the mistakes we need him to make. Isolating himself, weakening his alliances, creating vulnerabilities we can exploit." "When do we move?" asked Chen, her chief of operations, a man who'd orchestrated hits in 7 countries. "Soon, very soon. Another month of this and he'll be completely exposed. No allies, no backup, no one to call when we finally strike. Then we take everything he's built, his territory, his operations, his connections, all of it." "What about the woman, Erica James?" "She served her purpose. Once Byamsok is dead, she becomes a liability, a witness who knows too much. She'll have an unfortunate accident. And her daughter, well, the daughter was always going to die. We can't leave loose ends." But Wei Lin didn't know something important. Something that would eventually cost her everything. Because while Erica played her role and delivered her false prophecies and watched Byamsok's empire crumble, she was also doing what she did best. Watching, listening, learning. For 2 months, she'd been studying Wei Lin's operation with the same careful attention she'd once used to study Byamsok's enemies, learning their patterns, their habits, their mistakes. The photos of Maya came every day at exactly 3 p.m., always from the same number, always bouncing off the same cell towers in Red Hook. But there were inconsistencies, small details that revealed the truth. In one photo, Maya wore a Cornell sweatshirt, but the photo was supposedly taken on a Wednesday, and Erica knew Maya never wore that sweatshirt on Wednesdays. It was her Thursday study group outfit. In another photo, Maya walked past a building that had been under construction, but the construction was finished 2 months ago. The photo was old, repurposed. In a third photo, the timestamp said 2 p.m., but the sun angle was wrong for that time of day. Morning light, not afternoon. They were making mistakes, small ones, easy to miss unless you were paying very close attention, unless you were someone who'd spent 7 years observing details that others ignored. Erica began building a picture of their operation. They had at least 6 people involved. She'd identified that many different photographers based on camera angles and styles. They were using the same location repeatedly. The cell tower data confirmed it. They were confident enough to get sloppy. The inconsistencies proved it. And they'd already taken Maya, grabbed her weeks ago, probably right after approaching Erica, which meant the threat wasn't future, it was present, realized. Her daughter was already a prisoner, which changed everything about how Erica needed to play this. Because if Maya was already captured, then cooperating wouldn't save her. Wei Lin would kill her regardless, would kill them both once Byung Sok was dead and Erica's usefulness ended. The only way to save Maya was to fight back, to find her, to rescue her, to destroy Wei Lin's operation before Wei Lin destroyed everything Erica cared about. But she couldn't do it alone, couldn't assault a criminal organization with just determination and observation skills. She needed help. She needed Byung Sok, which meant she had to do the hardest thing she'd ever done. She had to tell him the truth. On day 73, Wei Lin sent the final instructions. The message came at midnight. Short, precise, final. Tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Byung Sok has a meeting at his private warehouse in Queens. Tell him you've heard rumors of an attack. Tell him to bring his entire security team. Tell him the attack will come from the east entrance, that they'll try to breach through the loading docks. The attack will actually come from the west. While his people defend the wrong position, we'll strike from behind. Overwhelming force. Kill everyone. Take control of his operations. This is the prophecy that ends him. Deliver it perfectly, and your daughter goes free tomorrow at midnight. You'll receive an address. Pick her up. Walk away. Start a new life. Fail, and you both die. Erica stared at the message for a long time. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading for 3 months. The moment where she had to choose between the man who'd given her power and the daughter who'd given her purpose. Except it wasn't a choice anymore, because Wei Lin was lying about releasing Maya, would kill her regardless, would kill them both and eliminate all witnesses to what had happened. The only way forward was through truth, through confession, through asking for help from the man she'd spent 3 months betraying. She went to Byung Sok's office that afternoon, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might explode. Found him alone, reviewing shipping manifests, planning legitimate business alongside his criminal enterprises. "Sir," she said quietly, her voice barely steady. He looked up from his papers, his expression wary. He'd been wary around her for weeks now, she realized, had sensed something was wrong even if he couldn't identify what. "What is it?" "There's gonna be an attack, tomorrow night, at your warehouse meeting. They'll hit the east entrance with everything they have, overwhelming force." This was the lie Wei Lin had told her to deliver, the false prophecy. But Erica wasn't finished. "That's what I'm supposed to tell you. That's the lie I'm supposed to deliver. But the truth is different." Byung Sok stood slowly, his hand moving instinctively toward the gun at his hip. "Explain." So she did. All of it. Everything. Wei Lin's approach 3 months ago, the threats against Maya, the photos that proved they'd already taken her daughter, the false warnings she'd delivered, the partnership she'd destroyed, the isolation she'd created, every betrayal, every lie, every false prophecy. She told him about the 3 months of deception, about watching his empire crumble under her manufactured warnings, about hating herself more with each passing day, about choosing finally to tell the truth, even though it would probably get her killed. Why? Byung Sok's voice came out raw, full of an emotion she couldn't quite identify. Hurt, rage, betrayal, all of it mixed together. "You gave me power," Erica said, tears streaming down her face now. "They gave me an impossible choice, my daughter or you, and I chose her. I chose safety over loyalty. I chose love over honor. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry." "Then why tell me now?" He moved closer, his hand still on his gun. "Why confess? Why not just let it happen?" "Because," her voice broke completely, "because I realized something. If I let them kill you to save my daughter, I'm not saving her at all. They'll kill her anyway. Kill both of us. We're witnesses, liabilities. Wei Lin never intended to let us walk away." She wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "And because I realized that if I let you die without warning you, then I'm still invisible. I'm still powerless. I'm still the woman people use and discard. I thought I wanted safety, wanted my daughter alive at any cost, but that's not power, that's slavery. That's being a tool in someone else's hand." Her voice hardened. "And I'm done being a slave to fear. I'm done being invisible, even if it kills me." For the first time since she'd started confessing, Erica met his eyes fully. No hiding, no deception, no performance. Just raw, painful truth. "I'm sorry I betrayed you." she said. "I understand if you kill me for it. I deserve it. But before you do, please, save my daughter. She didn't choose this. She doesn't even know this world exists. Don't let her pay for my mistakes. Don't let her die because I was stupid enough to think I could play in your world without consequences." Silence filled the office. Heavy, tense, dangerous. Byam-suk stared at her for what felt like hours, his hand still on his gun, his jaw clenched so tight the muscles stood out. Then, slowly, he removed his hand from the weapon. "Where is she? Where are they keeping your daughter?" Erica pulled out her phone with trembling hands, showed him the cell tower triangulation data she'd been collecting, the pattern analysis, the location estimates. "Brooklyn, Red Hook, this area. I've narrowed it down to maybe a 6-block radius, probably an old warehouse or industrial building, somewhere they can hold someone without neighbors hearing." He studied the information carefully, his expression unreadable. "And the attack tomorrow night? Real, but coming from the west entrance, not the east. They want you defending the wrong position so they can kill everyone when they breach from behind. How many people? I don't know, but Wei Lin has resources. Probably 30 or 40 trained operators, military-grade weapons. This isn't amateur hour." Byam-suk nodded slowly, processing everything, making calculations, planning. Then he looked at her again. "They'll know you told me. The moment I move against that location to find your daughter, the moment I reposition my forces to defend the correct entrance, they'll know you betrayed them. I know. They'll kill her immediately. I know. They'll kill you too. I know. You're throwing away any chance of survival to warn me. I'm choosing dignity over slavery. There's a difference. I'd rather die honest than live as a tool." Something shifted in Byam-suk's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. The acknowledgement that this woman, this invisible woman he'd almost dismissed completely, had more courage than most of his soldiers. "We'll get her," he said finally. "We'll get your daughter now, before they know you've told me, before they can react. And then tomorrow night, we'll deal with Wei Lin. They'll be watching. They'll see you move." "I don't care." His voice was hard, final. "You came back to me. You chose truth over safety. You confessed everything, even though it might get you killed. That deserves respect. That deserves loyalty." He pulled out his phone, started making calls. "And I protect the people who protect me. That's non-negotiable." Erica's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair, her body shaking with relief and fear and exhaustion. "Thank you. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Byam-suk said grimly. "We might all die tomorrow. This might be the mistake that ends everything I've built. At least we'll die with dignity. At least that." He made 2 calls. First to Jin Park, his head of security. Second to Michael Reeves, his connection to certain federal agents who were willing to look the other way for the right price. Within an hour, plans were in motion. A tactical team of 12, Byam-suk's best people, veterans of conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan and Yemen, armed with weapons that were technically illegal but practically unstoppable. Federal cooperation. 3 agents who would ensure that any violence in Red Hook would be ruled self-defense, who would make bodies disappear and paperwork vanish. Legal leverage. Judges Byam-suk owned, politicians he'd bought, power accumulated over 20 years of ruthless operation, all of it mobilized to save one 19-year-old college student. Because Byam-suk paid his debts, and Erica James had saved him first. The assault on the Red Hook location happened at 3 a.m., when darkness was deepest and the industrial district was completely abandoned. 12 operators, night vision, suppressed weapons, moving through the empty streets like ghosts. They hit 3 buildings simultaneously based on Erica's triangulation data and last-minute surveillance. Overwhelming force, precise execution. The first building was empty, abandoned. Nothing but rats and decay. The second building had 2 guards, low-level muscle who went down without firing a shot, but no Maya. Just a storage facility for what looked like surveillance equipment. The third building, a converted textile factory with boarded windows and reinforced doors, was where they found her. 4 guards, better trained, better armed. They managed to get shots off before Byom-suk's team took them down. The suppressed firing sounded like sharp coughs in the industrial silence. Maya was in a second-floor room, zip-tied to a chair, blindfolded, terrified but alive. When they removed the blindfold and she saw armed men in tactical gear, she screamed, "Mom! Baby, it's me, it's Mom. You're safe. You're safe now. Mom? What's happening? Who are these people? Where am I? I'll explain everything, I promise, but right now we need to go. Can you walk?" They cut her restraints. Maya's legs were weak from days of limited movement, but she could stand, could move. Byom-suk appeared in the doorway. "We have maybe 10 minutes before police respond to the gunfire. Federal friends can only delay so long." "Is she hurt?" he asked Erica. "I don't think so. Malnourished, dehydrated, terrified but alive." "Then let's move." They extracted Maya within 8 minutes, loaded her into a bulletproof SUV, drove to a safe house in New Jersey, one of Byom-suk's properties that even his closest associates didn't know about. Erica held her daughter the entire drive, held her and cried and apologized for everything, for getting involved with dangerous people, for thinking she could have power without consequences, for putting Maya's life at risk. "Mom," Maya said finally, her voice small and broken, "what's happening? Why did those people take me? Who were they? Who are you people?" "I made mistakes," Erica said, stroking her daughter's hair like she used to when Maya was small. "Got involved with dangerous people, and you paid the price. I'm so sorry, baby. So sorry. Are we safe now?" Erica looked at Byom-suk, who sat in the front passenger seat, already making calls and repositioning forces for tomorrow night's confrontation. He met her eyes in the rearview mirror, nodded once. "You're safe," Erica told her daughter. "I'm not sure I am, but you're safe." "Then that's enough," Maya whispered. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. The guilt would live with Erica forever. Still, her daughter was alive. That counted for something. That night, Erica couldn't sleep. She sat in the safe house kitchen, drinking bad coffee from a chipped mug, waiting for tomorrow. Waiting for the final confrontation, waiting to see if her confession would save them or kill them all. Byom-suk found her there at 3 a.m., looking as exhausted as she felt. "You should rest," he said, pouring himself coffee. "Can't. Too wound up. Worried about tomorrow? Worried about everything." She looked at him over her mug. "Why did you save her? I betrayed you for 3 months, cost you millions, destroyed alliances, almost got you killed. You should have left her there, let me suffer the consequences of my choices." "Maybe," he admitted, sitting across from her at the scarred kitchen table. "But you came back. At the end, when it mattered most, you chose truth. You confessed everything, even though you knew it might get you killed. That's rare in my world, practically extinct. I'm not in your world anymore." "Yes, you are. You were in it the moment you warned me about the 5 killers 6 months ago. You're in it until one of us dies. There's no walking away from this life once you've entered it. You should know that by now. That's what scares me." It should. They sat in silence for a while. 2 people who'd saved each other and betrayed each other and somehow ended up back on the same side. "Tomorrow," Byom-suk said finally, "Wei Lim's people will attack the warehouse. We'll be ready. We'll end this. And then? And then you'd disappear. Take your daughter. Go somewhere they'll never find you. Witness protection if necessary. New identities. New lives. Start over. What about you? I'm not built for starting over. I finish what I started. I destroy what tried to destroy me. That's how I've survived for 20 years. Erica nodded. Understood. Some people were meant to walk away. Others were meant to burn. She was the former. He was the latter. "I'm sorry," she said again, the words inadequate but necessary. "For all of it, for every lie, every false warning, every betrayal." "I know. Does that make it okay?" "No, but it makes it human, and in this world, humanity is rare enough to be valuable." That small acknowledgement, that recognition of shared weakness and shared humanity, was more than Erica had hoped for, more than she deserved. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. Thank me after we survive tomorrow." The warehouse waited in darkness. BMSOC's private facility in Queens, a massive structure that officially stored legitimate imports, electronics, textiles, consumer goods. Unofficially, it stored weapons, drugs, and money from operations spanning 3 continents. His entire inner circle was inside, 50 men, armed, positioned, but not defending the east entrance like Wei Lin expected, defending the west. Erica stood beside BMSOC in the main operations room, wearing body armor that felt heavy and wrong on her civilian frame, carrying nothing but a phone, the one Wei Lin had given her 3 months ago. "You don't have to be here," BMSOC said, checking his weapon with practiced efficiency. "You could wait in the safe house with Maya. Let us handle this." "No, I created this. I have to see it through, have to face what I did. You might die, I know, but I'd rather die honest than live as a coward." He didn't argue, respected her choice. At 11:47 p.m., Wei Lin's forces arrived. 23 operators, professional, heavily armed, moving with military precision through the industrial park surrounding the warehouse. They approached from the west entrance, expecting an easy breach, expecting BMSOC's forces to be concentrated at the east entrance, defending against a phantom threat. Instead, they found 40 guns pointed at them from elevated positions. The firefight lasted 8 minutes. 8 minutes of chaos and violence and the sharp crack of gunfire echoing through the industrial night. BMSOC's people had position, had preparation, had knowledge, had been waiting in exactly the right places. Wei Lin's people had surprise, or thought they did. When the shooting stopped, 17 attackers were dead. 6 more were wounded and captured. 0 casualties on BMSOC's side. One of the wounded prisoners, a man named Chen, who'd been Wei Lin's chief of operations, talked after 20 minutes of interrogation. Fear and pain have a way of loosening tongues. He gave up Wei Lin's location, her safe houses, her operational headquarters, the structure of her entire organization, everything. 2 hours later, at 2 a.m., BMSOC's team hit 3 locations simultaneously. Wei Lin's offices in a Manhattan high-rise, her safe house in Greenwich Village, her operational headquarters in a converted factory in Long Island City. Overwhelming force at each location, no mercy, no hesitation. They took Wei Lin alive, barely. Found her at the Long Island City location, trying to flee through a back exit with 2 bodyguards. The bodyguards died. Wei Lin took a bullet in the shoulder but survived. BMSOC had her brought to the Queens warehouse, zip-tied to a chair in the same operations room where Erica waited. Blood soaking through her expensive designer suit, turning the fabric dark and wet. Erica stood nearby, watching in silence. Wei Lin looked up, saw her, and smiled through broken teeth. "Miss James, I underestimated you. I thought you'd choose survival over principle. Thought you'd be smart." "You underestimated both of us," Erica said quietly. "I thought you'd choose your daughter over him. Thought maternal instinct would override everything else. But you're stupider than I thought, more sentimental. I did choose my daughter, but I also chose honesty. Turns out I'm capable of both. Turns out I'm not just one thing." Wei Lin laughed, a wet, painful sound. "You've doomed yourself. My organization is vast, connections in 14 countries. They'll hunt you forever, you and your daughter both. You'll never be safe, never be free, always looking over your shoulder, always waiting for the bullet." "Maybe," Erica acknowledged, "but at least we'll die free, die as ourselves, not as tools in someone else's hands. There's no freedom in our world, only different forms of slavery. You'll learn that. Then I choose the slavery of consequence over the slavery of fear. I'd rather own my choices than be owned by threats." Wei Lin's smile faded, pain and defeat replacing the confident superiority she'd worn for so long. "You were right about one thing. Invisible women are dangerous. I was one once, decades ago in Shanghai. I should have remembered that, should have respected what you were capable of." "Yes," Erica agreed coldly, "you should have." BMSOC stepped forward, gun in hand. "You tried to kill me, corrupted my employee, threatened an innocent woman, kidnapped a college student. Any last words?" Wei Lin looked at Erica one final time. "You could have been great, We could have built something together, an empire run by women who understood invisibility, who knew how to weaponize being overlooked. Instead, you chose him, a small-time gangster with delusions of empire. I chose integrity, Erica corrected. The empire is just where I happened to find it. Same thing. No, it's really not. Bayam Sok raised his gun. Erica turned away. She'd seen enough violence, enough death, enough endings written in blood and consequence. The shot echoed through the warehouse. Then, silence. 3 days later, Erica and Maya left the city. Bayam Sok provided everything they needed. New identities, Eleanor and Michelle Harris from Ohio. Money, enough to live comfortably for years without working. Protection, a security team that would shadow them for 6 months, making sure no remnants of Wei Lin's organization came hunting. Transportation to wherever they wanted to go. Erica chose Colorado, small mountain town, far from the coast, far from the violence. They met Bayam Sok at a private airfield in New Jersey. The plane was already fueled and ready. "Where will you go?" he asked, standing on the tarmac in the early morning light. "Somewhere quiet. Somewhere I can just be a mother again, where Maya can finish college online, and I can work a normal job, and we can pretend the last 3 months didn't happen." You'll never be just a mother. You'll always be the woman who saw what others missed, who saved a man who didn't deserve saving. Maybe, but I'm tired of seeing, tired of knowing, tired of carrying other people's secrets. I want to be ignorant for a while, want to be invisible again. He handed her a phone, different from the one Wei Lin had given her, clean, secure. "If you ever need me, if they ever find you, if any remnant of Wei Lin's organization comes hunting, call. I'll come. I won't call. I know, but keep it anyway. You saved me twice. I owe you at least this much." She took the phone, felt its weight. "Thank you for everything, for seeing me when no one else would, for giving me power even though it nearly destroyed us both. Thank you for saving me when I didn't deserve it, when I'd walked past you 1,000 times without noticing you existed." They didn't hug, didn't shake hands, didn't perform any ritual of goodbye, just nodded at each other. Two people who'd been through hell and somehow survived. Two people who understood that some debts could never be repaid and some connections could never be broken. Erica and Maya boarded the small plane. As it took off, climbing into the pale morning sky, Erica looked out the window at New York shrinking below. Somewhere down there, Bayam Sok was consolidating power, expanding his empire, moving through a world of violence and betrayal, filling the vacuum Wei Lin's death had created. Erica didn't envy him. She'd tasted power, had drunk deep of respect and acknowledgement, had transformed from invisible to essential, had become someone who mattered. But the cost, the constant fear, the endless danger, the knowledge that everyone close to her was a target, the guilt of betrayal, the weight of consequences, was too high. "Mom?" Maya touched her arm, pulling her from her thoughts. "Are you okay?" "I'm alive. That's something. Are we really safe now?" Erica thought about Wei Lin's words, about vast organizations, about revenge, about the fact that she'd destroyed a criminal network and made enemies who'd remember, about the reality that you never really escaped this world once you'd entered it. "For now," she said carefully, "we're safe for now." It would have to be enough. 6 months passed. Erica worked as a medical office receptionist in a small Colorado town called Ridgeway. Normal job, normal life. No prophecies, no warnings, no danger. Just invisibility again. But different this time. She'd chosen it, embraced it, made peace with it. Being invisible wasn't weakness, wasn't powerlessness. It was a choice, a strategy, a way of moving through the world without drawing fire. Maya thrived. Finished her semester online, made new friends in town, started volunteering at the local clinic, stopped looking over her shoulder every time a car passed, started laughing again, real laughter, not the nervous kind, started healing, and Erica learned something important, something she wished she'd understood before getting involved with Bayam Sok and Wei Lin and that whole dangerous world. Being seen wasn't always power. Sometimes being invisible was the greatest freedom of all. The freedom to live without performance, without calculation, without constantly weighing consequences and managing perceptions and playing deadly games. She thought about Byamsak occasionally, wondered if he'd survived, if new enemies had found him, if he'd finally met a threat even her warnings couldn't prevent, wondered if he missed having a prophet. Then, one Tuesday morning in late summer, her phone rang. Not her regular phone, the one Byamsak had given her, the one she'd promised never to use, the one she'd kept charged and close, despite knowing she should throw it away. She stared at it for 3 rings before answering. "Hello? Erica," his voice, but different, weaker, strained, pain under every syllable. "I need you." Her heart sank. "What happened?" "Everything you warned me about 6 months ago. The revenge you predicted, the remnants of Wei Lin's organization we missed. They found me, found ways to hurt me that I didn't see coming." He coughed, wet, painful. "They were patient, waited until I thought it was over, then struck. Where are you?" He gave her an address, a hospital in Manhattan, the same city she'd fled 6 months ago. "I can't come," even though part of her wanted to. "I have a daughter, a life, a chance at normal. I can't." "I know." His voice was fading, getting weaker. "I'm calling to say thank you, for teaching me to listen, for showing me that the most important information comes from unexpected places, for saving me when I didn't deserve it, for giving me 6 more months than I would have had without you." "I'm sorry," Erica whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Don't be. We chose our paths. Mine led here. Yours led to freedom. I'd say you won. Nobody won. Maybe not, but you survived. Your daughter survived. That counts for something. That counts for a lot." She wanted to tell him she'd come, wanted to promise she'd sit beside him in that hospital room, wanted to be there for the man who gave her power and respect and visibility, but she couldn't. Because Maya was making breakfast in their small kitchen, because she'd built a new life from the ashes of the old one, because some choices, once made, couldn't be unmade, because survival sometimes meant living with guilt. "Goodbye, Byamsak," she said quietly, her voice breaking. "Goodbye, Erica James. Thank you for being the most dangerous woman I ever met. Thank you for showing me that invisible doesn't mean powerless." The line went dead. Erica sat in her small Colorado living room, tears running down her face, mourning a man she'd betrayed and saved and couldn't save again, mourning the part of herself that wanted power badly enough to risk everything, mourning the choices that brought her here. Maya found her there 20 minutes later. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. Just remembering someone who changed my life. Good change or bad change?" "Both," Erica said truthfully. "Both." That afternoon she saw the news. Korean businessman found dead in Manhattan hospital. Suspected gang violence. Investigation ongoing. She turned off the TV, walked outside into Colorado sunshine, breathed mountain air, and finally, let herself be invisible again. Not because people refused to see her, but because she'd earned the right to disappear. Because she'd learned that power wasn't worth the price it demanded. Because she'd discovered that the greatest victory wasn't being seen. It was choosing who got to see you, and on what terms. The end. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you that power has costs, that choices have consequences, and that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away, then subscribe to Love and Tension, because every story we tell here is about real human struggle, real sacrifice, real love, and real tension. And if you haven't watched part 1 yet, if you want to know how this all started, how Erica first saved Byamsak from 5 killers with nothing but a warning, then go watch it now, because these stories are connected, and together they tell the truth about power, invisibility, and the women who navigate both. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Did Erica make the right choice? Should she have stayed? Should she have let Byamsak die? Is survival always worth the guilt it brings? Your voice matters, just like hers did. See you in the next story.